Let's have a chat about engagement pods and why you shouldn't be in one.
So what are the worst types of posts that you are seeing then? Is it like a trend from these sort of pods?
The one thing we're seeing at the moment is tapping onto the back of mental health. Jumping on the bandwagon of somebody else's problems. It's fucking disgraceful.
Imagine there's me and 4 of you in a WhatsApp group. You post your link into that group. Everyone clicks it the moment they see it. They write a comment, they like it, they engage with it.
This is happening day in, day out by, dare I say it, narcissistic arseholes who like nothing but the sound of their own voice.
You've got a little WhatsApp community of people that you have to go out to and say, hey guys, I've just put a piece of content, like it so we can game the algorithm and get our content out there. Yeah. It's fucking bollocks. You're not producing good content. It's gradually damaging the social platform that you're posting on.
Who in your mind, and who would you happily go on record as saying is the worst pod person on LinkedIn?
I think the most dangerous person on there at the moment is...
This episode is sponsored by Rebel Leadership. Defy the norm, exceed expectations, become a rebel.
What I think you should do is take a shot every time we say the word pod. Is anyone else like that? It's the pods drinking game. So what is your experience with pods?
I've been in pods. I've set pods up. I've known people to ask me to pay to be in pods. I've been around the market a little bit when it comes to pods.
Pods, they seem to be the worst kept secret on LinkedIn, but we don't need to keep your identity secret anymore. Welcome on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So you do LinkedIn marketing and help people be seen on LinkedIn. So you have had a lot of engagement with pods. So the first question I've got, and I don't normally do it in this order, is from Steve Hall. And he says, what the fuck is a pod?
Do you want the politically correct term, or do you want me to just say what my opinion of a pod is?
Opinion. I like opinion.
Opinions are good. A pod is basically a jerk circle of people that share content with each other with the onus of trying to get their content seen by more people. So by having a post have lots of likes and comments early on, within the first hour of it being published, that got more views. The more views, the more likes and comments, and it snowballs. I think people have taken that. There's no think. I know people have taken that as gospel and tried to run with that.
So it's really important that in the very beginning of when you post something, that you get that engagement quickly. So what I do behind the scenes is I text my friends saying, hey, I just posted this article. Can you please go like and comment on it? Now that then jumpstarts the algorithm.
And a whole host of horrible things have come from them, as well as a couple of positive things as well.
So on the surface then, they seem like, if I was a new person on LinkedIn, wanting to grow a business, wanting to get attention, a good thing to join. So are they good?
Part of me as a marketer, they have their purpose.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying this being a member of 6 or 7 pods. Now that doesn't mean that I contribute to the pods. Yeah. It doesn't mean that everybody within those pods contributes. But as a way of getting your content seen by more people, by using the algorithm to its advantage, I can't deny that it has its purpose.
Yeah.
The figures back that up. That being said, I think it's when people try to get a little bit more from it and try to formalise what a pod is, and put rules in and things that you have to do, or there are consequences. That's where we see the positivity of a pod start to dwindle.
Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? It is both.
So say I'm just on LinkedIn. How do I join a pod, or how do the pod approach me? How does that even work? Because I've only ever been approached twice to join a pod. One, I took the piss out of the guy. And then the other one, I was asked if I wanted to join almost like an anti-pod. And that kind of defeated the whole object. Anyway, it's like you've just created a pod that was just had a different view to the pod that you don't like. So you're the same thing in my view.
People ask me to join pods because I have active following. If you look at LinkedIn, for example, and they want to leverage that, and I get it.
So how does that even happen? How does the...
What happened with us and the proper LinkedIn marketing team, or what we did is we tried to work out how effective a pod was. So we've got lots of different test accounts which we do this with. We also in the past have used clients' accounts that have agreed to it as well. And part and parcel of us doing that is to find out exactly what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
How far can you push it? How far can you actually get a post to go through false reach, if you like? So this gaming of the algorithm. And what we found is the more popular client content got, the more times they got these little invites into these groups.
Yeah.
So when people see somebody that's got a lot of activity, I get one at least once a week. Do you want to comment on this? I get people send me messages. Would you care just to drop a comment or a like? I'm sure you get bloody hundreds of them. That's essentially just a pod in itself.
Yeah.
Someone's asking you to comment on something, which one you might not have seen, so that's a fair cop.
Yeah.
But the other side is they're asking you to comment on something that you might not agree with.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest downside, I think, to pod management.
You have to make sure that your content is actually engaging. If you create mediocre content or low quality content and you push up the numbers by faking it, like in an engagement pod, you're not getting anywhere. It's all fake. They just like it because they have to, because they're part of a pod.
And I suppose it's the difference between what we'd call a pod and what we'd call a group of people with like or similar interests.
Yeah.
Those with similar interests will all be happy to share each other's content.
Yeah.
It'll almost be a gentleman's agreement or a gentle lady's agreement that exists, that if somebody posts within the group, if it's something they feel they want to add value to, they'll add.
Yeah. Surely that's the key thing there, though.
I think
it's
so.
like if I was in a group, no matter what group it was, it's even in WhatsApp groups. So I'm in football one, I'm in school dads one, whatever. I never comment on people's comments or posts or content unless either I can add value, I want to, or I find it engaging. So I pretty much stay silent in all of the groups, really. It's like, I might say one or two things, but to be forced, if the dads at school says to me, if you don't like, share, or go on this like YouTube link, I'm going to boot you out, you just think they were a bunch of dicks. And that's kind of how I look at anybody that would be in a pod that had those type of rules.
It is, and I think that there's a very fine line between having a group of people that have to adhere by a certain set of rules, and having a bullying ring. There's a very, very fine line between the two. Yeah, and I think if I posted recently about setting up a pod as a tongue-in-cheek, and I set rules that you had to comment and like within a certain time, otherwise the pod members will all gang up and bully you. Yeah. 2 people actually sent me a message saying, "Can you add me to that pod?" Which is quite frightening. But that fine line, I think, is getting finer and finer, and people are seeing it as being absolutely fine because they're in this little jerk circle of people who are self-appreciating. Yeah. And because 10 people have all gone, "Oh, I really like your shit," they've gone, "Well, my shit must be good, therefore I'm going to keep doing it." And then if anyone objects to that, well, they must be wrong. They're wankers. Let's gang up on them.
Yeah, well, I've seen it. When I told people I was going to be doing this episode, I had loads of people send me DM messages saying, "I don't want to be mentioned on the podcast, but here's my experience." Yeah. And I've seen some awful things happen to a lot of them, ex-pod members and that belonged to pods of some of the big hitters on LinkedIn. And you'll all know the people I'm on about. But I mean, who runs these pods and who's in these pods? I've even had messages from people that worked for the people that run these pods, and some of the stuff that goes in there is like mind-blowing. How it's almost like a sort of LinkedIn mafia. And when they want you out, it's they'll do a post, they'll block you, and then group report you as well. If they perceive you as a threat, a pod leader would actually instruct pod members to make up a reason and then report someone for basically having a different opinion to one person in a pod. It's been abused, I think.
100%. And I think that's where I think whenever you mention the term pod, those that know what a pod are, there's 2 frames of mind. One, that people are in it and they see the benefit. And 2 are those people that have either been in it, know about it, and know the horror stories.
Mike will now read his favorite post.
I've now decided to leave the pod and join the Taliban. They're a friendlier bunch.
It's a very polarizing topic, pods altogether. And I think if you're in a group of people that like, share, and comment on each other's stuff because you're generally interested in what they've got to do, you tag them for want of a better phrase. You're generally interested in what these guys want you to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's what we do in society. We talk to people that we like. We engage with people that we like. If somebody says something out of turn, potentially we might actually have a different opinion and tell that person we've got a different opinion. But that's just life. When it goes the darker side, i.e. the pod mentality, is what you've just described there. Some of the horror stories that we've shared off camera and obviously that I've experienced and you've experienced, this is happening all the time. Yeah. This isn't just a one-off, this is one little horror story. This is happening day in, day out by, dare I say it, narcissistic arseholes who like nothing but the sound of their own voice.
But they position themselves as the sort of the white knights of LinkedIn and the good guys, when really they're the very people that are killing the platform.
100%.
It's been an interesting move, especially the last 12 to 18 months, where more and more people are aware of them. Because before it was, don't mention it. If anyone mentions them in a pod, deny all knowledge, pretend they don't exist. But people aren't stupid. So everyone could tell, if you're tagging the same 30 fuckwits into every one of your posts, there's a good chance that those 30 fuckwits are in the pod with you. It's obvious. You don't have to be a genius to work that out. But if they really followed your content and enjoyed it, they would have seen that anyway. You don't need to post that link in a WhatsApp group to say, hey guys, let's game the algorithm and let's get, 50,000 sheeple seeing this content.
You post your link into that group. Everyone clicks it the moment they see it. They write a comment, they like it, they engage with it.
What's their end goal anyway? Are they trying to sell to these people, or is it just collect more followers? I don't really get what the end game is.
With different people, it's different horses, different courses. What we tried to do when we looked at the different types of pods we could set up, whether they'd be beneficial to different type of clients, the end goal was always to get that client more work or more clients or more. It boiled down to money. That's the purpose of it. What we found that when we set pods up was that they had a life of about a month and a half, where people were excited about sharing the content. It got some traction. The views went up. The algorithm, dare I say it, probably then started looking at why the same people were commenting and the views started to drop.
Say I was trying engagement pods for about a month or so. I exited them because it didn't give me the results.
And then they went on off, did their own thing. So it was a foot in the door, for want of a better expression. But the end goal was always the same. We want more people to view it, because the more people view it, the more chance I've got of somebody picking up the phone saying, I like your stuff, can I buy it?
Yeah.
So, and that's if anyone's in a pod and they deny that's what their end goal is, they're fucking lying. There's a purpose for them being in that, is that they want to get their message out there for a financial gain. Yeah. Some people will say, oh, I'm just doing this because I love it. Fuck off, are you?
So taking that thought process through, then I get, if I was starting a business and I was growing it and I finally found my crowd and I was being seen on LinkedIn, why would you stay in a pod after that point? Because if you've got to put your name to other content that's shite most of the time, because there's only so many bullshit regurgitated hiring stories you can like, comment and share on, why would you continue 2-3 years down the line after you have become an influencer, for want of a better word? Would you continue to be in that jerk circle? It'd almost be like, right, I've got what I needed now. I'm at 30,000 people. I'm getting regular engagement from a core audience that like my stuff. I don't want this false engagement from a group of people that aren't going to buy your products, because if they're not buying your products or services within the pod where you're supposed to be friends of like-minded individuals, which is bullshit, by the way, there's no need to be in that group anymore, in my mind.
No, I don't think there is. I think what the clear definition we need to make here is that a pod for a pod's sake is totally different to having a group of like-minded people.
Yeah, massively.
I think that's where the narcissist takes over in a lot of people. Is they've been in a pod, they're used to this sort of engagement. They may post something that doesn't get any likes, followers, and shares, what have you, and it hurts them.
Yeah.
Why am I not getting this? I need to go back to my group because that's my safety zone.
Yeah.
That's where I know I'm going to get the likes. Now the problem with those guys is they're looking at likes as being a direct measure of success.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit. That's not the case. If that like isn't going to lead to a lead, which is going to lead to somebody picking up the phone, which is going to lead to somebody putting money in your pocket.
Yeah.
It's fucking pointless. There's absolutely no reason why you should do it.
If you've got 5 likes that all converted, that's better than 20 likes that you get no money from. Yeah.
But the story we're all told, and this is probably peddled most by LinkedIn experts, you should call them gurus and ninjas and all that shitty names, is that you have to gain the algorithm. You've got to be able to get your post to be seen by more people. Otherwise, there's no point you're writing. So a post that does 2 or 3 likes is pointless.
Yeah.
Forgetting the fact that, well, actually, if those 2 or 3 likes are your absolute 100% perfect client, then that's a win, surely.
Yeah, of course it is. Well, if you got seen by 100,000 people and only 5 people liked it, an argument could be made that, well, it's that shit that, I can't do the maths, 195,995?
A lot.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
But they won't see that. They'll just go, oh, it's got loads of views. Yeah, got loads of views and not many likes. So it doesn't, it must be shite content.
We still make the judgment, and I still do it now when I'm scrolling through my feed. If I see something that's got lots of likes and comments, I'm intrigued to know why it has.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, it's because they're in a pod.
Yeah.
It's not because the content's any good.
It's the influencer pods then really that are the main problem. The self-appointed influencer pods.
The self-appointed influencer.
And that's because they're all saying they're influencers, but there's 30 of them, and they're all trying to be the same thing. So Kirsty Bonner, she's now been knighted and she can be one of the top people on LinkedIn. I saw her do a post a couple of weeks ago, and this was the post that got me blocked. If you want to know how I grew my LinkedIn following by X amount, I did, and she did like 5 steps, failing to mention that she's in the pod with Oleg.
Yep.
And I said, it's weird how you've said there's no secret to your success and you've done the 5 steps, but missing off the one that's obvious to everybody else, because you keep hashtagging Oleg and all these other people and tagging in all the people that we know are in your pod, because it's the worst kept secret. That pod's probably the worst kept secret on LinkedIn. Why won't you mention it? If there's nothing wrong with it, why don't you mention it? That's what I don't get. It's like...
It's holding back the secret sauce.
Yeah.
That's you can have my level of success if you do A, B, C, D, and E. Oh, did that not work? You need my secret sauce.
Yeah. And what is the secret sauce then? Is it, so if you pay me 1,500 quid, and I know this is the price that some people pay, I will guarantee your marketing will go viral on LinkedIn, but all I'll do is I'll dump you in 10 or 12 of the pods that I run with some of the other big boys.
Yeah. Because
I know that happens. I've got screenshots that show that happen. I've got people that have not got returns from the £1,500. The pods is basically a cyber version or a digital version of the school playground. And it's like, remember at school, the popular kids in your class thought that everyone liked them, but really everybody thought they were a dick apart from their 4 mates. And there was a little element of fear about them.
Yeah.
All these people that we all know are in pods, why don't they just say, this is what we do, this is what we are doing? And yet, like, influencers on Instagram now have to say, this is sponsored content. Why shouldn't they say this is sponsored content? It's been artificially, because then they'd be like, all right, fair enough. It's only got 100,000 likes because Oleg's liked it and shared it, and 80% of his followers are in India with no buying power.
Agree.
Have you seen the I appreciate you? I appreciate that comment. That's the one doing the rounds at the moment.
Yeah. This is wonderful. I appreciate you.
Most people don't take that seriously anyway, so you end up with awesome comments like, great content, love this, and really not adding any value to the discussion.
I appreciate you too, Sian. It's just bullshit, isn't it? Like, what value have you added there?
Oh, none at all. And that's part of the some of the pods that I've seen and been invited into, reading some of the rules.
So they've got legit set out rules.
Yeah. So you've got to comment a certain amount of characters or lines, because that's what the algorithm wants to see.
Yeah.
Bullshit. You've got to do it within a certain amount of time. There's probably some sort of reason as to engagement in a time factor. But it's the comment has to be a certain amount of lines. You've got to put thought into it. But then what you can do is you can copy and paste some people's comments and then do a search, and you'll find that comment's been used 20, 30, 40, 50 times on other posts by other people. And so it's just false engagement. One of the things that a lot of my clients ask, the biggest question is do you put me into a pod? And categorically, we don't do that now. There are far easier ways of getting content to be seen by more people, genuine people, and there's no secret to it. You've got to target people. Simple as that. There's no hidden secret sauce, wank juice, or anything like that. Target your audience. But one of the things that they are asking about whether they join a pod is, would joining a pod make their content be seen by more people? And the answer is always yes. But that shouldn't be the question. It should be, would joining a pod make my content be seen by my audience?
The right people.
The right people. And that's what so many people on LinkedIn forget, is that they see a like, they see a comment, they see the views ticking up, and they get a little boner because they're thinking, this is going really well. When truth be known, half of them are in India that are not your buying target. Some of them are in Australia and never going to buy your product. 50% of them might be men, and you're selling stuff for women. So not understanding what your content, who is viewing your content, is stupid.
Dan Kelsall, he did our first ever podcast. It feels like a long time ago now, but he said being part of a pod is the best example of short-termism on LinkedIn.
100%.
That is categorically the best example of short-termism, of growth hacking. That it's just fucking nonsense. I mean, if you've got a little WhatsApp community of people that you have to go out to and say, hey guys, I've just put a piece of content, like it so we can game the algorithm and get our content out there. It's fucking bollocks. You're not producing good content.
No.
And what that's doing is gradually damaging the social platform that you're posting on.
What I think they're doing is there's like 30 go-to people now. I say go-to people, 30 people that are always in your newsfeed, and it's like regurgitating the same old stories. They're only liking each other's content. What eventually is going to happen is that's the only content we see, so no one new is going to see their content. So they're actually killing their own platform. Going to be no original ideas, no new ideas. There's going to be none of this new stuff. I can't see why they can't see.
Yeah,
it's long term. They're not going to benefit from this
because long term they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
they're caring about who's putting money in their pocket there and then. Yeah, and by me doing this and then charging people £1,500 to come and join my pod, that's putting money in my pocket now.
So what are some of the worst rules and things that you've seen in pods, or the worst kind of repercussions for someone that's decided they want to leave a pod?
Repercussion. I've seen messages within a group that have specifically asked people to target an individual.
Yeah.
Saying that he's no longer part of the group and he's going to try and bring us down. Please disconnect and please report.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I think
very
you might have
same
seen
messages.
the same ones.
Yeah, I've seen their messages, which is mental when these people paint themselves as church-going nice people. So, like the worst types of posts on there, I think, are the hiring stories from people that have never been in a position to hire. It's like only a little bit of digging below the surface can see that it's not possible for you to have hired that many people for that company, especially when they're not right for the role, because it's always that, isn't it? It's like, oh, this is the dropout junkie that turned up to interview late. You can't fill an organisation with people like that because the organisation won't be around very long. So, and no one ever talks about when they sacked someone or fired someone, you know. So what are we to really believe that Oleg hires all these people? Because he's never hired anyone. Look at the job role he's got.
Exactly. No, and I think that's it. People discover, and when I say people, I mean usually marketing agencies discover a trend. They discover something that resonates with people, that people react to, and then they build a strategy based on that. That's been happening in marketing from day dot. But what we're seeing that manifest as in LinkedIn is that lots of people like the jerk circle stories of I hired someone despite the fact he had one leg and he'd got beans down his shirt. Yeah, they love these sort of stories. Why I can't get it into my head as to why they like them. Normally there's some really, really thin veiled message at the bottom of it as leadership should be, usually written by somebody who's never had a leadership role in their life. But because that seems to resonate and lots of people click happy and these pods of false engagement are engaging in this sort of stuff, that's creating a trend. And it's that trend which is then triggering and firing other people to think, well, if I write about hiring somebody, in my experience, I'll get the same sort of response. And that's when we start to see a very vanilla platform of the same drivel just being rehashed, reshared, and rewritten.
Well, you say it's vanilla, and then you get Kirsty Bonner dropping a suicide post.
Wow, that was a...
that's some chocolate sauce on your vanilla there.
That was a career-defining move by her or her team.
Well, this is what I said yesterday. I said, in her defence, she didn't write that, because I doubt she actually writes her own posts, because they all follow the same format, Banff inspired. I'm not saying it is Banff, but it'd be someone like that does her post for her.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Are they controlling some of the people's profiles? So is it a team of marketing people? Are they passing that content to post? How does that work?
I can only comment accurately on what we do with our clients, because different firms do different things. So what we do with our clients is we have a target list of people they want to go after.
Yeah.
We have a sorry about that. We have a target list.
That was the signal. Let's get him. Let's get him. Go on. Yeah, go on.
So so my clients, they have a target list of people they want to speak to, engage with, correspond to, connect to. We have a style and an approach to the content, which tends to be about an 80-20 split between personal and stories which they've shared with us. And then sort of 20% of the time is very business focused. So we have a split. And then that content is shared to those people that we're trying to reach. So that's our process. So our end goal is to get more people on their target list, seeing their content
and engaging.
How we could use a pod in that is to get people that are all of the same client base.
Yeah.
In the same sort of market. Now the problem is our clients aren't all in the same market. Yeah. So it's very hard to put a pod with those sort of guys. So we don't. We don't. Where strategies for people like Oleg and Kirsty and the likes, I can't see what their end game is, because they both appear to have very stable jobs within the same organisation.
Yeah. What's happened there is someone told me that she's been binned off. Did Oleg really get Kirsty a job? Because if that's true, that's the only official person I've ever seen Oleg get a job.
I don't know, but clearly, hit rate of 1 out of 4 million is not bad.
There's irony there, because if it's a jerk circle, that's the chances of fertilising an egg.
Exactly.
I know post Archers.
That's getting animated, isn't it? That's 100%.
I hope so.
From a marketeer point of view, I can only see that they are trying to build brand Oleg, brand Kirsty Bonner. What that's going to look like, I'm not in the inner circle, so I don't know.
So what are the worst types of posts that you are seeing then? Is it like a trend from these sort of pods?
At the moment, I think, and I'm very aware that this has been recorded quite a bit before this is actually going to be published. So trend may have changed, but the one thing we're seeing at the moment is tapping onto the back of mental health.
Oh, it's massive.
And it's, it's nauseating. A lot of people say, well, anything about mental health is great because we're talking about it. Jumping on the bandwagon of somebody else's problems is fucking disgraceful. When you look at it, again, I'm speaking purely as a marketer here, but if you're looking to try and get people engaged with something, you look at what the trends are happening in the world. Massive thing at the moment is mental health. But if you're able to tap into somebody else's psychological aspect of something, it's very easy to get them on board because you're showing some sort of, dare I say it, compassion to what they feel strongly about. There are people out there that will do it for a genuine reason.
Yeah.
And I'll applaud anyone that does that. Anyone who stands up for something they believe in, 100%.
Yeah.
It's those people that then take that and go, you know what, we've got an audience of people here. Let's fucking abuse it.
Yeah.
They're the people that I wouldn't spit on if they're on fire.
I've noticed that some of the high-profile LinkedIn personalities that all are in part of the same pod seem to actually have infiltrated LinkedIn, the organisation now, and it appears that they're making some of the decisions. Have you seen that? What I've seen is some of these guys are being treated more favourably. Yeah.
And by that I mean they're being given opportunities to test new products such as LinkedIn Live, things like that.
Well, it's the same dickheads that have got LinkedIn Live that started the pods, in a nutshell. So they've obviously been invited in. But so do LinkedIn think they're popular because it's genuine, or can LinkedIn not see that they're actually stopping genuine people's voices being heard because they're killing the platform?
I think from a business point of view, where are the eyeballs?
Yeah.
If they're bringing eyeballs,
to our platform.
Yeah.
So really, the cheats are being rewarded then.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think that's the sad truth of it. Unless you get to the point where you're at the top of your wank circle, you're not going to see the benefits that these guys are getting. I suppose the thing to learn is if the person who set your pod up, or the person who created and set the rules of your very strict Hitler-esque pod, if that person is taking money out of your bank account, have you got a return for it?
Yeah. Well, really, you should ask yourself that, shouldn't you? If you're part of the pod,
you should be doing that before you even part with any cash.
Yeah.
Will I get anything back from doing what this guy is telling me I can do? Now, I've got people that have been in the pods in the past with my group that will be looking at this thinking, Chris, you're a dickhead. I've not had any money back yet.
Oh, it's massive.
And that's unfortunately out of the people that were successful and not successful. There's always going to be some that aren't, some that are.
Yeah, but there's going to be that in any walk of life
with everything.
Yeah, of course.
I think that the point we've got to make there is those people that are really, really hard pod goers, the guys that we've mentioned, the guys that are right at the top, these are the guys that don't give a rat's ass whether you exist. All they care is whether you're going to help promote them and put money in your bank account.
I've got a guy who's actually from the pod that's run by, he paid to get in the pod, and for $1,500 they said that they'd run his pod for him, they'd do his marketing for him, and I've got it written down here. So he was paying $1,500 a month. They created and give him content to put out that was so far removed from his real voice that he raised an issue about it. Said it wasn't. He felt uncomfortable putting that out.
Yeah.
They promised to grow him from 5,000 followers to 15,000 followers in a set time frame, which they failed at. Still not got those amount of followers, and he didn't get any genuine new leads or business in 8 months of being in that pod. Then when he wanted to leave and he was unhappy, they blocked him, and if they've removed, and he's been blocked by all them pod members. So he was threatened that if he left the pod or spoke bad of it or mentioned its existence, he's not, I have, they would start a systematic report and block campaign.
Fantastic.
And all of the pod members were told to ignore and not engage with this person on the platform. Unfortunately, some pod members did continue to speak to him offline, who he genuinely got on with in the pod.
Yeah.
And they also report the same type of sort of treatment. And I think that's where it's gone wrong. It blew my mind when he was telling me, it's like, why the fuck are we still paying in month 3, 4, 5 for this stuff? Like, if it's not worked in 2 months, you'd be thinking, well, come on now.
Yeah.
But his posts were getting a lot of engagement in terms of likes and views.
But what's that going into? That's
Nothing.
That's the thing. And that is the thing. If you're going to spend any money with somebody, if it's not going to generate you a return, I mean, some people will do it as a loss leader.
Yeah.
They will do because it's part of their marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But if it's not going to give you a return, stop fucking paying it.
Yeah.
Question it. If they're gonna try and online bully you, call them out for it.
Yeah.
Speak to people who will have got the balls to talk.
But I've noticed they do quite a lot of pods on bullies, and they do a lot of bullying pods, and they all report bullying.
Yeah,
they're the worst for it.
It's the same mentality of, well, let's tap into Mental Health Week because no one's going to call us out for mental health because we're talking about it. Yeah. It's the same mentality. If we talk about the problem which they're going to try and highlight, no one's going to believe them because we're talking about it. Yeah. So it's like, I know when you mentioned about the podcast doing about the pods. Is that the right way?
3 shots.
3 shots. There we go. There's lots of people who commented on your stuff and asking you different questions, and a lot of those were people that were worried. People, do you want to see my DMs now? I've got a lot of people that I know are part of these pods and aren't, they're part of the problem, like befriending me now. I've got some questions actually from LinkedIn members. Do you want me to go through some of these? Yeah, go on, crack on. So I've got quite a few. So I will start with. Do I need to put my disguise on and go into pod mode for this? Yeah, if you want. So I've got here. So this is Julian. It's the second question we've asked on our podcast. Julian Agadilo. Julian Agadilo. That's his name. So I was once invited to a newly formed pod. I'd wake up to 40 WhatsApp messages, half of which read, "New post, guys, like, comment, share." So he'd like to say this to his former podmate. So that's not even a question, this. So if you're reading this, crack on. You'll always be in my heart. Just know that some things just aren't meant to be. I'm a lone ranger. That's just how I roll. And also, most of your content's shite, and I wouldn't put my name to that tripe. It's quite a good comment there to some of the pod members. We need more people like him. So I've got Graham Ryan that says, "What are pod members promised in gratitude for liking and sharing other pod members' content?" Likes, shares, and comments. It's exposure. That's all. That's all a pod can promise realistically. Is that the engagement is going to be increased. Yeah. What I've seen in some of the invites I've had is that you will get X amount return. You will get such and such. If you invest this amount, we guarantee this. Oh, wow. So they're making claims like that? Oh, all that sort of stuff. So, and they physically, they've got nothing to substantiate that. There's nothing. Yeah, but how can you make a guarantee or a claim when you don't know? You can't. I can't say to you, I guarantee you 1,000 followers a week, because I can't. Yeah. What happens the week you get 900? You might get 300 something. You might get 2,000 one week. It's a bit of a strange claim to make, especially when you're not a marketing expert. The only reason your content's seen is because you joined a pod. So question, if you're collectively spamming people with each other's content and almost forcing people to view it, how do you measure the real value your content has to the audience if it isn't grown organically? Do you want me to tell you the easy answer to that? Yeah. You don't. Oh. Throw it away. So what would the pod members say to that if they were trying to get new members in and get money off them? Well, they'd lie to you. Yeah. The simple thing is, it's the old adage of more likes, more comments equals more engagement. More engagement equals more leads equals more money. And it's tricking them into that belief. Now that what they're saying is 100% true. Yeah. But that's simply not that's not all of the truth. But if you're putting out real content, you make sure that you actually get real people who like you, who comment and share your content because they generally like your stuff. I've got a question here from Rachel Hannon. Are pod members as insincere in real life too? I ask because just liking and agreeing with pod members' posts so they get more visibility, as opposed to because you genuinely feel something seems false, fraudulent, and isn't very transparent from the outside. I think it's the same thing over and over again. It's just different ways to put it. I can't see why pod members can't see this is what people think of what they're doing. It's because they see the likes, the engagement, the analytics, which say their posts have been viewed by 2,000 salespeople. Yeah. I've got a product I sell to salespeople, therefore it's working. What they're not looking at is actually, what am I getting from that? Yeah. So if I'm spending 4 hours a day liking and commenting on shit posts, am I actually better using those 4 hours for business development? 100% you are. Or should I still carry on sitting in my jerk circle and hoping that I'm going to get a lead that actually transfers into something as revenue?
Yeah. Next question. I've got James Dean Waplington. Good name, that one.
Cracking name.
Why do they have no qualms with posting business anecdotes of kindness and rainbows that are very clearly didn't happen? Are they just glorified gobshite bullshitters?
Yes, they are, and I think the problem lies is when somebody doesn't get the engagement, you'll almost see the next post along. So if you ever go for one of these guys who's getting quite a lot of engagement, and you see a post that's not getting much engagement at all, normally the next post is, LinkedIn algorithm must have changed because I'm not getting any likes, or what do I need to do? Do I need to share a pair of tits to get some engagement on this platform?
It's see their ass.
It's that narcissistic, my content is so good, I should be getting content, I should be getting views, why am I not?
Yeah. Do you know one thing I will say about Shay? Fair play to her. She put that video out, and I think it was kind of like preemptive damage limitation. Like, let's talk about the pods before other people talk about the pods. They've kind of been forced, they've got to do it. Her content isn't that bad. The production value is quite good.
It looks very professionally well done.
That's what I'm on about. Like,
absolutely.
how it looks is decent, and she would probably do well without being in a pod, especially now. But her content kind of would resonate with a big audience anyway. It's just mad that, they've had to use that. But I suppose that's only come recently. I don't know what her content was like before that. I'd never even seen her before.
Well, I did a Influencer 2019 webinar where I was invited to talk about LinkedIn, and Shay was one of the other speakers. The rest of the speakers were all in the States, so this was about 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I logged in, did my bit, and switched off. But since then, there's been the group of all the people that took part have been sharing all their content, that sort of stuff, which is fair enough. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But there's no need to.
Yeah.
I know at least 3 of the people that spoke on that event that produced really good content. Yeah. There's absolutely no need whatsoever to still, and whether it's habit, whether it's feeling that they're not going to get the views if they don't do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But their content is pretty good. Some of the thing that Shay did with Gary V and P-Take on that, I thought was hilarious.
You want to know why I'm here? Because I ate for 10 years.
I've seen that video. That video's been done by somebody else. It's corporate bros content.
Sometimes you gotta eat shit and drink sweat to piss excellence.
His content's good. We know corporate bro, don't we? And he got booted off LinkedIn for a while because he wasn't a real person. But while he was booted off, a lot of his videos were remade by some of these influencers.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a fucking genius to work out what's going on here.
No.
Then he's finally come back onto LinkedIn, but he's had to start again. Now they're asking him if he wants to go in their pod.
Yeah.
Don't know if he'll get angry at me for saying this, but I spoke to him specifically about this last week, and he was saying he got approached, and I said, "Why the fuck would you need to do that, mate? Your content's like the best content being put out there." And he said, "Because they keep copying my content, but they're putting it out to a bigger audience." It's like
that, and that's I think that's the problem. They get to a point where there's no one to hold them to account.
Yeah.
I can get away with this because I've got an audience of sheeple that'll like, comment, and jump on the bandwagon when someone says anything negative. You've only got to look at Tim Denning's content. You mention anything negative,
I can't see his content. Blocked me.
I was blocked, and I'm unblocked again for some reason.
I was worried about that though. Do you think what are they up to? Why have they unblocked me again?
Well, I do. I mean, the problem which a lot of them don't realise is that we manage about 30 odd accounts. Yeah. So if you've blocked me, there's a lot of other accounts that I can jump onto. So if you're blocking me, I can still see your shit.
It's like the apostrophe, your shit. Tim, you are shit, not your shit. Yeah.
Oh, that's the big one as well. Yeah. The grammar Nazis.
But they do that when they've got nothing else to say, though, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Winkers, that's what I call them.
Winkers?
Wankers.
Wanker, that's the
typo. It's an interesting idea, like just an influencer in general. I think, do you remember back in the day when there wasn't like 24-hour telly and 300 channels to choose from and YouTube and like that? You only knew of people because they were good at something, generally. Yeah. So it's like there were only sort of like 6 or 7 massive pop stars or massive
really bad at something. It was in the newspapers.
Yeah. You were famous because you were either good or perceived talented at something. It's like fame was a byproduct of being good at something.
Yeah.
Right. then it's people nowadays, I want to be famous. So it's like, I want to be known. Doesn't matter how. Like, I'll go on a reality TV or whatever to become famous. Not I want to be talented at anything. I'll just go on and people know who I am.
To be famous has become
a thing where it should never be that. But I think like what I've noticed, especially the last sort of 2 years on LinkedIn, people want to be an influencer. They don't know what they're influencing or what the fucking message is or what message they're trying to put out there.
Yeah.
I want to be an influencer, but like influence who and influence what? Like I don't get that bit. And it's like when people say, "Oh, well, I'm a LinkedIn influencer," but what are you influencing them to do? I really struggle with that. Who in your mind and who would you happily go on record as saying is the worst sort of pod person on LinkedIn?
It used to be MDC.
Yeah.
From certainly some of the screenshots that have been shared with me between him and Corey, and the group, things like that it's abysmal. But I think probably the most dangerous at the moment.
They were friends, weren't they?
From what? No, I've only ever spoke to either of them via DM and via a post that I wrote about how bad pods were, and they both came across as being incredibly defensive about each other's actions. Now they had fallen out massively, but I don't know enough about it to really comment. I think the most
dangerous person on there at the moment for what she posts,
or what whoever posts is posting on her behalf, and the style and the aggressive nature how she's going at it
is